I'm excited because this is my dream, and to do it with friends and people is amazing, and I feel lucky, so
Well, that's profound.
thanks.
911, what are you reporting? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I'm excited because
Ma'am?
this is my dream, and to do it with friends and people is amazing, and I feel lucky.
So delighted to be joined on the show today by one of the stars of the cosmic horror found footage. We'll go into that further as we go in the interview, but it's certainly been making a splash stateside, releasing on the 9th of January in cinemas. And as I said, delighted to be joined by Michelle May. Hi Michelle, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Obviously, we've been kind of exchanging emails back and forth, getting something sorted for a wee chat, and thanks very much for coming on.
Yeah, sure.
So, first off, just kind of going back to the beginning of, I don't even know if I said the movie name. It's called The Outwaters. It has been making, anyone who has social media, especially that follows the kind of horror community, I think will definitely have heard of this movie. I've seen it myself. I was given a screener from Screenbox, and I absolutely loved it. It took a lot to not be able to talk about it until the embargo lifted on the 1st of February. And then I put my review of it out, and yeah, it's one of my favourite found footage that I've seen in a long time, and I'm a big found footage fan. So just to kind of start at the beginning, the pitch for the Outwaters that was given to you, I assume, would that have been by Robbie?
Yeah, so Robbie, I've known Robbie for about 10 years, but yes, he was the one who asked me to be in the movie.
Yeah. And how did he explain the kind of premise of it for you? Because trying to explain the Outwaters to someone that hasn't seen it and is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, totally. That's how I feel trying to explain it to, friends and family to go see it. But Robbie, I know that he's an artist and he's been a filmmaker for a while. And I myself love like experimental art, and I'm not a huge horror fan, but I think it's fun to kind of like dive into the mysterious and the unknown and leave things up to interpretation. So that's kind of how it was pitched to me, was like, this is a horror movie that I'm doing, and it's in the desert. You're a singer, which I like to sing and play music. And he's like, yeah, and there's going to be blood, and it's going to be fun, and something mysterious is going to happen. And I just said, count me in. So that's kind of how it went.
Yeah, perfect. Definitely, we won't go too spoiler heavy in this chat, as much as we can without saying things, if you understand. Sure. So your character of Michelle August, as you said, is a singer, and there's almost not necessarily the reason for going to the Mojave Desert, but it's her music video that leads them to that. In terms of your character, was there much background given to her? There's kind of hints for her about maybe her mother's passed away, possibly. And yeah, just generally her background. Was there a character there for you to work off of, or was it something that you developed yourself as you went?
Yeah, so I personally, the character really resonated with me as far as being someone who is an artist and most of the time is like happy-go-lucky, but she has experienced some loss in her life or trauma. And so I resonated with that part of the character as far as, losing my mom in the movie, and she was a singer, and connecting with that. It was fun for me as an actress because I got to kind of dive into those emotions, and you have to kind of pull from a place of like real life experience. But I think it was cool because there's a lot of emotions that you experience in the movie. Like, we're having fun, and then there's some sad, weird, ominous stuff going on. So yeah, but I really loved the character, and I definitely resonate with her.
It's interesting, yeah, what you're saying there. Obviously, part of the appeal for me, certainly, of the movie was a lot of found footage can be 80, 70, 80 minutes. It's not particularly immersive in terms of maybe character development and certainly the relationships between some characters. The four friends in this, they feel lived in before they experience what they go on to experience in the desert. Was that, again, it felt to me that was quite important for what's to come. So you get that. I think it's nearly not too far off of 2 hours long, the movie. So you've got a full hour of character development. You've got the first disc, as it's split into the 3 discs, is them kind of at home talking about going to the desert and just kind of seeming to enjoy each other's company. And then the second part is their interaction in the desert and setting up for the shoot and things like that. And then the kind of weird occurrences on the first night. Do you think that was important because you get that extra time with your main characters? Because the second half of the movie goes so extreme and so out there that it gives you that extra sense of caring for them as well.
Yeah, I personally think that as well, because you get invested and you're like, oh, these people, not to say that I'm cool, but you're like, these people are cool. Like, they're friends. They're having a good time. They seem, like you said, to genuinely enjoy each other's company. And then, yeah, just plot twist. They're going to do something fun and make magic. And then all of a sudden, crazy stuff starts happening. So I think that's what makes the Outwaters unique. Is I've seen, a couple of found footage movies, but it is far off. Like, yes, there's some interesting things happening in the beginning. It's not necessarily scary. It's just a bit strange. But you really get connected to this friendship that everyone has. And each character really has their own story and their own personality. So I think it's a fun group. And yeah, it's sad when something can happen to a fun group of people.
Yeah. And it allows for, as we're saying, in the second half, you've got a full kind of 45, 50 minutes of this strange, disturbing, unexplainable, violent, and really kind of visceral horror that, despite perhaps not seeing as much as you think you might, there's enough given to you that your mind can go places with it. The kind of, it's from Robbie's perspective, and he has an almost pinhole-sized flashlight that you're seeing flashes of what's going on. There is scenes in a house. There's scenes outside. It looks like outside a plane window, and it's from complete brightness and the sun of the Mojave to the utter terrifying darkness of that same, or is it the same place, scenario and setting almost, and it just adds to like a sensory overload almost at times.
Yeah. I mean, cinematically, I think the movie is super beautiful. Robbie has such a good eye. I've always thought that, even before I was, in his project. But yeah, there's such a back and forth, and it is, I think I saw someone said, an assault on the senses. And I think that way too. It's not like it's shaking you around like you're going to throw up, in your seat watching it, but it is kind of beautiful, and it's artistic in a way to where it's pulling on your emotions. You might be scared. But yeah, there's a lot going on, and it is up to interpretation. And that's what I like about it. I think art should be that way. Everybody's going to have their own opinion about what they think it is or what's going on. And so that's why I'm excited for people to see it.
Yeah, definitely. And what you're saying there about Robbie's eye for a shot, I think it was just before the shit really hits the fan. And there's a kind of the sunset in the Mojave, and someone just standing on the horizon, axe in hand. And it's a beautiful, beautiful shot, but also just adds that terror, and that leads into the madness. And it's one of those that you really just have to in my review, I actually said there's two ways to really experience the Outwaters, I think. Ideally in a cinema, and hopefully in the UK we can get a cinematic release. I'd really love to see that.
Yeah.
Because you'll get the full immersion of which great sound design in the whole movie as well. The sound design's fantastic in it, and also the quieter moments I think would really hit as well in a cinema, or a really good pair of headphones. Turn the light off and just let it. I think I used the words let the Outwaters drag you to hell by getting that immersion. I think is a real. Those I think would be both the ideal ways to see it. Ideally, as I said, cinematic, but I think just that, as you're saying, with his direction and the shots he gets, it really is an immersive experience.
For sure. Yeah, or put a blanket over your head, over your laptop, and then just like create
ideal.
a dark room.
Yeah. I live in Glasgow. It's always cold, wet and dark, even during the day. So it's fine. This is perfect movie for us.
I exist in this. I'm in sunny California, so it's like I got to use the movie magic, as they would say.
Yeah. And how was it? I'm assuming the majority, would that have been filmed on location in the desert? Even the night shots?
Yeah. So, all of it was filmed out in the desert in the Mojave. We found some really cool spots. California is kind of amazing because throughout the movie you see like some different climates. Like we go through the mountains at one point, but we're lucky that you drive an hour kind of in any direction and you can pretty much get any climate. But it was cool because we didn't have to go super far, but I think we got a lot of different landscapes and that adds to elements of the movie. Robbie also goes to the East Coast in the movie, the beginning. So there's a lot of nature scenery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a scene actually with yourself, which is one of the certainly more surreal, almost kind of Lynchian shots and scenes of it. If you're running across it, almost looks like salt flats that are cracked and dry looking, and there's an almost. It's quite hard to see your expression. Sorry, took a total blank with my words there. Your expression, if it, almost like a maniacal glee, maybe, or because you don't know, you're seeing so many different, almost random shots of people in scenarios that you don't expect them to be in. And that shot of yourself across those salt flats is just fantastic. Robbie chasing you, and he seems to be becoming more and more detached from reality as it goes on, and even the daytime isn't safe for him by the time the first night is kind of passed on. What do you take from that shot of yourself? Do you think that is Michelle experiencing that, or is Robbie experiencing that? Do you have a thought on that?
That was really fun to shoot because, again, and Robbie's a really great director. He was like, just draw from a place of like terror, or fear. Like, I'm trying to get out of here, and without giving too much away, like as I'm running away from him, I'm not in like the best state. And so running, like we weren't surrounded by anybody. I could be loud. I could be screaming. I could just be psycho, and so it was really fun to just like let loose and run through it. And I think that's maybe what you picked up on the maniacal, but I'm also like afraid, and it was just really the scenery, like running into that and creating hopefully like that fear for people to like respond. It was really cool. It was surreal. And I think because it was authentically surreal for me, at least, like I hope it translates for people to see.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd imagine filming in that environment would be quite challenging as well. It must be a very dry, like almost no wind, like a very hot heat, if it's the right way to describe it. Hot heat's always hot.
It is hot.
But do you know what I mean? But you feel you can't catch your breath. It must be quite challenging just being immersed in that for a day of shooting or however long that would have taken you.
Yeah, so we went there a couple times. One of the times we did it wasn't too hot yet, but we had a day into evening where it was just so windy, and it actually created some really amazing shots because our hair is blowing in the wind and my dress is blowing in the wind, and so it looked really cool, but it was brutal at one point. Like we're standing there just like, like you're in a wind tunnel, and then there were days in the summer where it was like super hot and like covered in blood and you're like sticky. And we had like a little mini makeshift jacuzzi that we like poured water into, and we're like, but it was kind of fun. We made the most of it at the end, and the sun is setting over the mountains, and it was super fun. But yes, lots of different heat and wind and elements, and it was real.
Yeah. I've been to LA once, but I've never done the desert side, but I've been to Vegas a couple of times. And the heat in Vegas, I kind of felt that, where the wind is warmer than the everyday heat. And it felt that watching yourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you think a breeze would help you, and it just burns you more.
Yeah.
It's horrible. It's funny what you're saying, not what you were saying, sorry, but I mentioned earlier about it being kind of David Lynchy style with that shot of yourself. The whole film seems very dreamlike, even the early shots of the group at home, and once you're in the desert preparing for the shoot, it all feels very dreamlike. And there's again another really interesting shot where Robbie's he seems to be asking for help from the group of donkeys, but then he sees the whole group, including himself, making their way into the desert, and it's a really unnerving shot that I really loved that element of it, and it let it linger as well, again, because we've got the extra time in this movie. It was, just it's very dreamlike overall, I think the movie feels.
100%. And I very much am like the character. I'm a little bit out there and like hippy dippy and whatever. But I think that life is interesting and lucid, and we all dream. We all have like weird, you wake up from a dream and you're like, oh my God, like I don't even know how to explain this to people. Or I was like looking at myself, I was floating out of my body. And it's cool, because this movie touches on some weird kind of basic primal fears. Like no one wants to go out and do something fun and then, end up getting killed or some spooky thing happens. But then, the part where he's looking at it and he sees himself and it's almost like he's trapped. So again, that's like up to interpretation, but it's like, it kind of draws on this weird kind of like lucid feeling, and it makes you feel all kinds of ways. So that's the best way to say it in a vague kind of manner.
And again, touching on the nighttime scenes, as I'm saying, it's really difficult to talk about certain aspects because there's a scene I really want to talk about, but I can't because it's massively spoilery. But getting into those nighttime scenes and the we're obviously, I feel like it's one of the most, as I've said the word immersive found footage, where the audience is certainly drawn into what, primarily through Robbie's eyes, what he's seeing, and it certainly puts that uneasiness, and it stuck with me for such a long time after because of that, because it's went back to more of the classic style, like people reference the Blair Witch Project, because found footage has certainly been a subgenre that has went away a bit from the found and aspect of it, more into the footage style, where it's like cameras are set up, or there's a dash cam that catches everything, or there's a police camera and security cam and things like that. If you get what I mean, and just with it being so original, but also going back to the basics of found footage, I think was one of its real high points for me.
Yeah, that's what I really love about it too, because it's almost like a home video. We live in a time now where everybody can pull out their phone and stream through Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And so it's like, we're kind of living in this time, but this is almost more magical, in my opinion, because it's not like an ugly iPhone. It's like a camera, that has beautiful quality. And it's like, hey, we're taking this video and we're documenting the making of a video, and that's a video. And so I agree with you. It's cool because I think it feels more genuine.
Definitely. Yeah, it's almost that, what's the word? I forget the word, and I'm not going to try and remember it because I know I'm not going to.
Yeah, no worries. It'll happen later if you're falling asleep.
Yeah, exactly. I'll send you an email to say, it was that fucking word. So, touching again on the found footage aspect, is this your first experience filming found footage?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of acted my whole life. I did it when I was younger and then stopped and started again. I've done like short films with friends. I've done like silly little clips and videos, but as far as like a feature found footage, this was my first experience with that.
Mm-hmm. And did you find much difference in if you're going to a more, maybe not scripted, but certainly a more traditional way of filming? Is there a different way of approach? Is there more scope for improvisation, maybe?
100%. And that's why I liked it. Acting is fun when you have a script and remembering your lines and like really committing to a character. But this was more so like, do what you would naturally do. Robbie would give us some guidance. Like we would have specific things that we would need to say sometime, but it wasn't always following a specific script. So I think that's what gave it the realness too. It was a lot improvised.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you're saying, you've known Robbie for 10 years as well. So you've got that kind of camaraderie already
100%.
with each other. Can you see yourself, I know you said you're not a big horror fan. Can you see yourself maybe dabbling a wee bit more moving forward after this?
I think so. I mean, it's funny. When I was younger, I really loved horror movies. I was really into ghosts and the paranormal and UFOs, and I still think all that stuff is very interesting. But now, if I watch some scary stuff, I can enjoy it, and I'm like, whoa, that was genuinely scary. But sometimes I'll have nightmares or nothing like crazy, but I'm like, oh, that's in my subconscious now. Great job. You got the point across. I'm scared. But I do think horror is fun. And I think the whole point of going to the movies is to like have an experience, whether you're like laughing or you're sad or you're feeling romantic or you're scared. So I think it would be fun to keep doing horror. And, if that's the path that unfolds for me, we'll see what happens. But just acting in general, I think it's fun, and I'm diving back into it. So
yeah, good stuff. Yeah, and you were fantastic in this as well. So I'm a genre cinema fan, so hopefully I can see you in more of it moving forward.
Thanks, Andy.
No problem. So the last wee bit I want to touch on with it was, obviously there was they had a kind of small couple of festival releases last year, didn't they? Mm-hmm. Did you attend any of that yourself? Did you go to any of them? Or
I didn't. So I wanted to. So basically Robbie had shot some stuff, and then I kind of like came in later to the movie to do some filming, but I'm hoping to make it to more of the festivals and some of the premieres. I know that Robbie is going to have an appearance at a lot of them, but hopefully, like you were saying, if it makes its way over to the UK, I'll totally pop on over there and would love to be a part of that.
Definitely. Yeah. The Glasgow Film Theatre. Cool. That's where our horror festival is every year, Fright Fest.
Oh, awesome.
Which we have Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey showing this year.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. Yeah, a horror Winnie the Pooh movie, which is just what everyone wants.
Oh, of course.
Apparently.
Plot twist.
Yeah. And what have you got yourself coming up next? Anything that you can talk about? Or?
So at the moment, I'm kind of just dipping my toe back in the water. I dabble a little bit with like modeling, but I'm also dabbling into music. So I am very much just flowing where the wind takes me. But yeah, if anything is coming up, I will keep you guys posted. I'm active on social media, so people can like keep up with me there. But yeah, for right now, I'm also just like being present with the Outwaters and connecting with people this way.
Excellent. And also the Outwaters viral marketing has again been fantastic, actually. Yeah. Another thing to mention, the screen box, the boxes sent out to certain individuals with police folders and shit like that has been great. And again, I think that'll get people feeling certainly the kind of Blair Witch element of it.
Yeah.
So Michelle, thanks very much for joining us. I hope the rest of the interviews and everything you've got coming up and the promoting the movie goes really well. I look forward to hopefully getting a UK release at some point soon and catching it in a cinema and getting more people to kind of fall in love or be terrified and properly shit scared by the Outwaters, which is always what the horror fans want.
That's the goal.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Andy. It was so nice to talk to you.
You too. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Yeah. Have a great day. Night. you.